Hi, my name is Erica Hubbard, and I'm a licensed social worker and registered psychotherapist here in Boulder, Colorado. I also have an office in Westminster. And today I would like to give some information about the correlation between happiness and fear and how it is always less scary to take a step into something that is known. If you have the full picture and you have all the information that you need about something that was fuzzy, it becomes less scary. Such as if you walk into a dark room, you don't know if you're going to trip on something. When you're a kid, you think there's a monster in the closet, and then you want to turn on the light. As soon as you turn on the light, you see where you're going, and your hesitancy in stepping is not, you're confident with where you're going because you can see where you're going. And I think that that applies really just about everywhere. Knowing how you think, how you feel, what's going on, why it's going on, really helps you see things. It's like switching on a light in a room and you go, oh, okay, I see why this is happening. So now I can make more of an educated decision on whether to move forward. And I think that I see a lot of clients and a lot of people, and I know a lot of people who have consciously decided to not have things that they love in their life. And it's based on, and happiness that is just at a certain level. It's almost like they get to a certain level of happiness and immediately that feels so uncomfortable that they back out of whatever they're doing. I don't want to do that. And usually, I'm going to say I don't think anybody would ever do this unless they had already experienced loss and they knew what falling from that loss felt like. It's just, I don't want to do it again. It's so scary and it's horrible, right? Well, there's another thing to it as well. Fear and happiness are hand in hand all the time. I mean, you can have fear without happiness, but you can't have happiness without fear. The exact amount of happiness that you feel or allow yourself to feel is exactly how much fear you allow yourself to feel as well, because you can lose whatever you have that makes you that happy. A lot of people think that it's much easier to just avoid happy altogether. And so I like to talk to my clients about like this, I give them a visual. So I say this line, baseline, meh feeling, right? The baseline represents your like resting average of emotion. So it's just, we have a 0 and then we have all the way to 10 in happiness from this line. And then we have all the way to 10 in negative emotions. So, sadness, rejection, devastation, loss, all those things, anything. And both of those 10s from baseline are a person's relative opinion and experience. So my 10 is different than your 10. It's different from everyone's. My worst day ever I can numerically call that a 10. I can just deem it my 10 from baseline, the lowest I've ever been. And just like hot and cold are on the spectrum, are on a spectrum and relative to one another. You can't, if I live in the desert and it is always super, super hot, and then one day there's a cool front and it's just a breeze and it's nice and it's maybe 10 degrees less. The only thing I've ever experienced is very, very hot and a little less hot. And so my range of knowledge and experience of temperature is really little. I don't know that, it's relative, right? But it's little. And versus if I lived in, North Canada and then I went to vacation in Hawaii, I would be a different person with my own experience, but my range in temperature would be from like really, really, really cold to like really, really, really hot. And my knowledge of that range would be bigger. And so my 10 from baseline is a certain level based on what I've experienced. And same with happiness, right? And I like to argue that they are equal. And so basically, the higher you go in happiness, the further you can fall in sadness, right? Because they are from that baseline relative to one another. Same is true for horrible experiences. And so when people go through trauma or really, really horrible experiences, and just their tens are relative to them, they have an experience that they have never had before that is so much deeper down negatively, emotionally, than they even had any idea would be possible. It's trauma. It's shock that kind of pain even exists. They had no idea, and they were shoved into that kind of pain, and they were like, holy crap, I had no idea that kind of pain exists. Then you get out of it, right? Then you survive from it, and then life continues with that experience happening. What's just happened is that your range, because you have to have the same distance from that baseline, all of a sudden, if you've ever realized people that get out of horrible situations, they have this like amazing euphoria of happiness, because the lower they went from that baseline negatively, now having survived from it, they have the capacity to go that exact distance from baseline in happiness. So somebody who's gone through something so horrible now has this choice to make. They have the option now of being happier than they have ever imagined being, because now they can go that much higher from baseline. But with this experience in falling all the way down below baseline to that negative place, they now have the knowledge of what that feels like, how far that falls, their range in temperature, right? They're really cold, really hot. Their knowledge of how vast that range is now is much, much larger of awareness of how far you can go in either direction. And it's kind of mind-blowing. And you don't want to be that far again negatively. And you also are scared as hell of allowing yourself to go that high in happiness. You very well know now through experience that having that amount of happiness is the scariest thing ever, because that is just so far to fall. Standing on top of a skyscraper. And so a lot of people choose, not understanding why they choose this. They will feel a certain level of happiness, and it is so scary, but they're not correlating those two things necessarily or consciously. But if you think about it, it just makes perfect sense. But they will avoid happiness. Relationships, they start to fall in love and they're like, not doing it. And they will block emotionally the person that they love, because, oh my God, what if I let myself go to that level? I can't do that. And so they block themselves from this possibility. You've been given a gift. You've earned it, actually. You've gone through such shit that you've crossed to the other side, and the universe has said, you know what? You've proven yourself. You lived through this horrible thing. I gift you with the ability and the test in life to, are you brave enough? And now you've passed a checkpoint. Now you're level up. So now you're working with higher stakes. What are you going to do with it? And a lot of people put blinders on and go like, either direction. I just want to stay near baseline. And it is a safe option. However, I think that it's an uneducated opinion if you don't look at it as it is, which is that you have earned now, and you now have the knowledge that you have this availability of happiness that a lot of people can't even get to. They haven't passed the checkpoint. So you've earned it. Are you going to use it? And I think that's really scary to think, right? I don't know if it takes risk, but it takes conscious risk. So when you find yourself blocking your your own happiness, remember that happiness and fear go together automatically. I think just knowing that makes you, when you're so fearful of the happiness you feel, to just go, yeah, I am scared, and it's because I'm happy. Just knowing it kind of makes you own it, unless you're not a victim of your fear. Your fear goes, you earned that a level of fear because you earned that level of happiness. You survived all those bad things. And so I think some people, if they really think about it, may think that the rest of their lives, you could be wasting this amount of happiness that's just right there, attainable to you, if only you just make the choice. If you know the fear is going to be there with it, then it's like flipping on a switch, a light. You know the fear is there next to the happiness, so you're not surprised or avoidant of it. You're almost happy about it because it goes with happiness. So the fear, it's like, come on, fear, you're coming with us if you decide to do that happy thing. I think that choosing to love with the time that you have left is a very, very brave option. And you should have all the information before you make the choice to avoid it or to not do it. We live one time, and I think that you should know about all these options that you have. And don't ever forget that you've already survived a fall. You are an experienced faller, and you got through it. And so celebrate by accepting the gift that you have earned, which is more happiness than you've ever had experienced before. Go ahead and be brave. You've earned it, and you're brave. You survived. You're a survivor. You'll also cherish those things more, and you're wiser, and you acknowledge the preciousness in that happiness. And so you won't be as careless. You won't be as lacking the knowledge of what losing something means. You'll keep it because you understand now. So now you have all the information. Have a great day. Till next time. Thanks, Erica Hubbard.